Hi folks, this is Karim Raouf from our IT Visualizer channel. They will continue our lab, the Matrix Labs, the video number 67. We have been discussing in the previous video the following while still working with the Purple Active Directory Security Assessment Tool, which is a free tool you can download to assess your security situation concerning your Active Directory. We are discussing the report generated by this tool. We are now discussing this security indicator, which is called Principles with Constrained Delegation using Protocol Transition Enabled for a DC Service. Okay, this indicator, maybe we can get confused by this indicator and another indicator that was discussed before, which is Principles with Constrained Authentication Delegation enabled for a DC service. This security indicator is talking about a service that is delegated to talk to another service, okay, on behalf of the user. This is what the security indicator is talking about. Without protocol transition or authentication protocol transition. As for this one, we are talking about a service talking to another service, and you can authenticate to the first service using a non-Kerberos protocol or another authentication protocol, and then talking to the delegated service using a Kerberos protocol to take a ticket and begin talking to other service. So we will see an example how this is done and how this is very, very critical. You should not do this, and we will talk to the different AI tools to give us different answers that will clarify this concept. So again, we are talking about principles with constrained delegation using protocol transition enabled for a DC service. Here, when we see protocol transition, we are talking about authentication protocols transition, as I can see from the description on likelihood of compromise. So let's see first the answer of ChatGPT when I ask it to explain this concept. Okay, and here I am talking to him that like I am a junior IT administrator learning Active Directory. Show how this concept works in AD, provide a real world scenario and include common pitfalls to avoid. So this is one prompt that you can use to explain something. So let's go and see the answer of ChatGPT, which is a very, very good answer, by the way. So let's read the answer carefully and see what does it say exactly. So you as see a very, very organized answer by ChatGPT o1 per view, which I think will be ChatGPT 5, which is its answer is very, very good, better than ChatGPT 4.0, which is the current module. Okay, let's read the answer. I think he didn't give me anything, so let's see first here. He's still trying to read the answer.
Understanding constrained delegation with protocol transition in Active Directory. As a junior IT administrator learning Active Directory AD, it's essential to grasp how delegation works, especially when it involves sensitive services like those running on domain controllers, DCs. Let's break down the concept of principles with constrained delegation using protocol transition enabled for a DC service, understand how it works in AD, explore a real-world scenario, and highlight common pitfalls to avoid. What is delegation in Active Directory? In AD, delegation allows a service to impersonate a user to access resources on another server on behalf of that user. This is crucial in scenarios where multi-tier applications need to access resources across different servers seamlessly. Types of delegation. 1. Unconstrained delegation. The service account can impersonate any user to any service. Risky, because if the service account is compromised, an attacker can access any resource in the domain. Constrained delegation limits impersonation to specific services. Safer, as it restricts which services the account can access on behalf of a user. Understanding protocol transition. allows a service to obtain a Kerberos ticket for a user authenticated via a non-Kerberos protocol like NTLM or basic authentication. This means a user can authenticate to a front-end service using one protocol, and that service can obtain a Kerberos ticket to access back-end services. Key components: S4U Self, service for user to self, allows a service to get a Kerberos ticket on behalf of a user without needing the user's password. S4U2 Proxy, service for user to proxy, allows the service to use the ticket obtained via S4U2 Self to access other services on behalf of the user. How does constrained delegation with protocol transition work? When you enable constrained delegation with protocol transition, 1. User authentication. A user authenticates to a service using any protocol, e.g. NTLM. 2. Service obtains ticket. The service uses S4U2 Self to get a Kerberos ticket for the user. 3. Service accesses backend services. Using S4U2 Proxy, the service accesses specified backend services as the user. Why is this important for DC services? Domain controllers host critical services like LDAP and CIFs that control the security and management of the entire domain. If a service account is allowed to delegate to these DC services, an attacker compromising that service account can impersonate any user, including administrators. They can request service tickets to DC services and perform privileged operations. This could lead to a full domain compromise. Real-world scenario. You manage a web application hosted on web server that needs to access a back-end database and file server on behalf of users who authenticate via forms-based authentication, non-Kerberos. Implementation steps. 1. Service account creation. Create a service account web app SVC for the web application. 2. Enable constrained delegation with protocol transition. Configure web app SVC to be trusted for delegation to specific services, e.g. MSSQL SVC for the database, CFs for the file server. Enable protocol transition to allow authentication via non-Kerberos protocols. 3. Configure SPNs, service principal names. Set appropriate SPNs for the service account to ensure proper Kerberos ticketing. How it works. User logs in. The user authenticates to web server using their credentials, e.g. username and password. Service acts on behalf of user. Web app SVC uses S4U2 Self to obtain a Kerberos ticket for the user. Uses S4U2 Proxy to access the database and file server as the user. Potential pitfall in this scenario. Misconfigured delegation. If you accidentally allow web app SVC to delegate to services on the DC, e.g. LDAP, you expose a significant security risk. Security risks and how attackers exploit them. Attack scenario. 1. Compromised service account. An attacker gains control of web app SVC through weak passwords, vulnerabilities, etc. 2. Abuse protocol transition. Uses S4U2 Self to request a Kerberos ticket for any user, including domain admins. 3. Access DC services. With S4U2 Proxy, requests access to services on the DC, e.g. LDAP. 4. Perform malicious actions. Reads or modifies sensitive data. Creates new user accounts. Escalates privileges within the domain. Why this happens? Overpermission. The service account is granted delegation rights to DC services. Lack of monitoring. Unnoticed misconfigurations due to insufficient auditing. Common pitfalls to avoid. 1. Overly broad delegation rights. Avoid granting delegation rights to sensitive services on DCs. Action. Limit delegation to only necessary services. 2. Enabling protocol transition unnecessarily. Avoid enabling protocol transition if not required. Action. Only enable it when users authenticate via non-Kerberos protocols. 3. Weak service account security. Avoid using weak passwords or shared accounts. Action. Use strong, unique passwords and consider managed service accounts. 4. Improper SPN configuration. Avoid incorrect SPN settings that could lead to authentication issues. Action. Ensure SPNs are correctly set for service accounts. 5. Lack of regular audits. Avoid neglecting regular checks on delegation settings. Action. Implement regular audits and modest practices. Principle of least privilege. Grant the minimum necessary permissions. Regular monitoring and auditing. Keep track of which accounts have delegation rights. Secure service accounts. Use complex passwords and restrict logon abilities. Educate your team. Ensure all administrators understand the implications of delegation settings. Summary. Delegation allows services to act on behalf of users but must be configured carefully. Constrained delegation with protocol transition is powerful but can be risky if misconfigured. Attackers can exploit misconfigurations to compromise the entire domain. Prevent issues by following best practices, limiting permissions, and securing service accounts. Final thoughts. Understanding and properly configuring delegation in Active Directory is crucial for maintaining a secure environment. Always, double-check delegation settings. Limit the scope of delegation. Secure your service accounts. Stay informed about potential security risks. By being vigilant and proactive, you can harness the benefits of delegation without exposing your organization to unnecessary risks.
Well, this answer, uh, for me, it's not that good, but it is clarifying the concept, and we will see the answer of Claude to explain the same concept. Let's see here. I asked it also the same question, but in a different prompt. Here, provide an in-depth case study of all of the below, which is concerning the security indicator, constrained delegation using protocol transition enable for a DC service, and then at the end I'm asking it to give highlight best practice and common pitfalls in real world settings. So here is the case study. If we go and try to read the answer, let's first see. Here you go. This is an advanced. I don't need advanced one. There is the first one, which is case study protocol transition. Here you go. We have the answer, which seems to be different. Here is saying this case study examines a critical Active Directory security configuration, constrained delegation with protocol transition. Okay, this is, I think, the abbreviation. Implemented for a domain controller service. Based on a real-world deployment experience at a mid-sized financial service organization, we analyzed the security implementation challenges, and essential safeguards. Technical concept background. Constrained delegation with protocol transition allows the service to authenticate users using any protocol, including NTLM, request service tickets on behalf of users without their credentials, the ground ticket from the corpus, limit delegation to specific services. The security challenge. While protocol transition offers significant flexibility for service integration, it introduced substantial security risk. No requirement for user TGT or TGS, ticket grant ticket or ticket grant service ticket for the purpose of verification, potential for privilege escalation if delegated service is compromised, risk of lateral movement within the domain. Okay, real world case. Here we have organization profile, finance service company, 5,000 plus employees, multiple regional offices, hybrid cloud infrastructure, strict regulatory compliance requirements. Initial requirement, web application requiring seamless single sign of service. I think single sign of service, yes, to use one account to log into different applications. Legacy systems use NTLM authentication. Some of these systems use NTLM protocol for authentication, not Kerberos. Need for integration with modern Kerberos-based services. There is a couple of services using NTLM and a couple of services using Kerberos. So we need to have protocol transition so we can use only one account to access all of these services. Compliance with financial industry regulations. Here we can see he's giving us the deployment analysis. First of all, we can, this is the configuration of the web service account, which will run the web server. Here we can see we have trust for delegation, and we delegate to HTTP, okay, and we have CIFS. This is a service for file share on a file server, okay, but this is not on the domain, by the way. I'm talking about delegation to a service on the domain controller. CIFS, I think this is file sharing, but on a file server. He is here giving us the server that will he talk to or delegate to. Then we can see here that security control implementation, service account protection, implement time-based privilege access, deployed Microsoft local administrator labs. Okay, but this is for the local accounts. Okay, so this is not correct. I think time-based privilege, this is correct. Enable strong authentication for service accounts. Okay, but again, where is the situation here? He is giving us some meditation. For example, we need to open audit policy configuration just to monitor the Kerberos ticket operations. I think okay, this is good. Now we can also, here is called event forwarding. I think here he's putting the events of the Kerberos ticket in the forwarding section in the event log. Least privilege implementation, service account permissions strictly limited, regular permissions review process established, automate cleanup of unused delegations. So here I think he's talking about the ideal situation. Here he's trying to uh, uh, make some monitoring, okay, to the Kerberos tickets and not to give full access, only time-based access, okay, and to have strong authentication. I think this is the ideal situation. Now he's talking about a compromisation. A compromised service account with protocol transition enabled attempt to obtain tickets for a high privilege account. So he's talking about a compromisation of an account, even though he's giving us the steps to protect this account. I think deployed labs account here, this is not correct. I think this is for local accounts. Okay, maybe there is a, a, a user or local administrator account that is used to run a service which is not recommended. Okay, so I think this can go. Then we can go to the situation. He is telling us how we can detect something like that. Go to the event viewer and try to see some events to get the compromise or to get the hacking process. I think here this is event, I think, for logging in or hacking the service account or the web service account. And then here he's talking about meditation, implement meditation, a real monitoring tool. Okay, add automated service account, deploy just-in-time access controls. Uh, I think anyway, this is far from what we need, I think. He's saying incident 2, misconfiguration exposure, overly permissive delegation allowed unattended access to sensitive file shares, implement strict service-to-service mapping, regular delegation audit process, automated configuration validation. Uh, this is very complex example, and I don't actually comprehend or understand what he's talking about. He's talking about what we are or the concept or the security indicator, but he's confusing or he's getting both how to protect and how to and the hacking process. Okay, this is not that clear, but anyway, it's good info. He is telling us to use group managed service accounts where possible, implement regular credential rotation to have strong passwords for the service accounts, monitor for suspicious activities using using monitoring tools, delegation configuration. He is telling us to disable this delegation, but what if we need it? Okay, this is one thing. Enable constrained delegation. This was constrained delegation. Uh, okay, he's talking about okay, constrained delegation. This is unconstrained, disable unconstrained delegation. We don't have unconstrained delegation. Then set allowed services. This was already done. Okay, enable auditing. This can be a good example. Real time. Okay, here is the conclusion. Network segmentation. Put your servers that are critical in a separate network segment. PAM, privilege access management solution. Okay, strong authentication, training for your IT, document change management. If you need to do any changes, create a service account, change a service account password or a database password. All of this should be documented. Incident response procedures. Okay, anyway, conclusions and recommendations. Protocol transition requires careful planning and ongoing monitoring. Security controls must be layered and comprehensive. Regular auditing and review is essential. Incident response procedure must be tested and updated. Okay, implement checklist. These are the checklists: service account, security baseline, delegation, documentation, monitoring configuration, incident response procedures, regular security reviews, compliance validation. Okay, he is giving you the commands. A very, very good documentation, by the way, scripts and everything, but uh, I think I am not understanding it quite well. Okay, giving you the references, but again, you can ask Claude. I asked it in another prompt, okay, to give me hands-on exercise to understand this concept. Here, this appears to be more valid and more clear. If you go there and see the hands-on exercise, he will give us clear steps to do or to explain this security indicator. For example, here we have a lab environment. Here we'll set up a lab to explain this concept. Here we have a DC, domain controller. We have service server, maybe an application server or a web server, client 1, client workstation, Windows 10 attacker or attack machine. Initial configuration, very, very simple and good, by the way. Set up a new Active Directory domain, install. So you have a domain controller, okay. You need to add a new domain. So there is, or maybe you only installed operating system on the domain controller and you need to make the Active Directory. So install the feature. We have it at forest lab.local. Join all machines to the domain, the hacker machine and the client machine. Create test users. So we have a regular user. Very, very good example. Regular users with passwords. And we have admin user, and we have put him as a member in the domain admins, and then we have a service account with a password. Okay, very, very good. So this is the example. Now we need to configure constraint delegation. So now we configure a service account with constraint delegation and protocol transition to understand the process. First, we configure service principal name. We have two accounts. Okay, we have, which account here is, we have an account called service01.lab.local. Okay, we will register it with an HTTP on DC. So we have, so this is on DC1. We have a service or file share service on the DC and HTTP service on the DC. We register this service account to these two services. Okay, anyway, enable constraint delegation. So we have this. Okay, no, I think here is the account. Okay, so we have two services. Okay, this is the account. So this is correct. We register this account to the HTTP service, and we register this account to the files or the file share service. Now we delegate this. We have this account to have protocol transition. Okay, so now we have everything configured. Then we need to verify the configuration. Here we have the PowerShell command to verify that we have already delegated this or we have enabled protocol transition for this service account. Now exercise 2 to demonstrate protocol transition. Understand how protocol transition works by authenticating with different protocols. And install IIS on server 1. So here he is giving us the steps one by one. First of all, we have already our domain controller set up. We have different users, then we have different, or we have our service account and register it to different services, and then we make protocol transition to it. And I think we need also to here is giving us, yes, so we have protocol transition. Okay, here we have trust for authentication for delegation, protocol transition, and allowed to delegate. So we have protocol transition and constraint delegation, okay, to the DC services. So very, very good example. Now we need to have a web server installed on server 1. Okay, you go here is the way to do it. Install IIS on server 1 and configure it to use the service account. Test authentication with the regular user that we have created earlier. Okay, first with Kerberos, so we need to authenticate. The client will authenticate to the IIS or the web server using TLM and using Kerberos to make sure we have protocol transition enabled. Okay, so after that, we exploiting protocol transition, demonstrate how an attacker could abuse protocol transition, and install Mimikaz. This is the tool for hacking or for penetration testing on attacker one in a real world. But I've never used Mimikaz on a production system. Okay, so use the compromised service account to request ticket. So here is talking about using or asking the service account to give us a ticket, impersonate admin.user. Oh, very, very critical one. So this can be done. We can test this and see how the protocol transition could be a weak point for hacking. For example, here he is taking or he is trying to take a ticket by the name of admin.users. Okay, and I think he wants to access shared files on the domain controller. So here he's taking a ticket or service ticket by the admin user for the admin user. He needs to verify access. Now he can access, so after taking the tickets, he can access the shared. Oh, he can access the admin share. Oh, this is very, very good example. So now he can access not only the visible shares, but the hidden shares. This is very, very critical. And actually, he can access the shared files on the DC, so he can access the C partition of the domain controller. Oh, very, very critical thing, because he is hacking the file share service on the DC, so he can access the hidden shares and the normal shares. Very, very, very good example. Exercise detecting and monitoring protocol transition. Now he's giving you how you can detect something like that. How to detect potential abuse of protocol transition. Enable advanced audit policy for Kerberos. Now he's giving you to audit. This can be put in or to audit events and put them in the event viewer. And now he's giving you the event IDs, Kerberos Authentication Service 4768, 4769, 4624, 4625. Okay, so this is good. And now if you have SIM or a system for monitoring the events or event viewer, I think this is system integrate. This is a system for monitoring the logs on your service. Search for multiple service requested by the same service account. Service tickets requested outside normal working hours. Okay. Service tickets request for sensitive. Very, very good example which illustrates this security indicator. Very, very good. Then redemption and hardening. Now he's giving you, so he giving you the monitoring tools, how to monitor this and discover it, and how to solve it. Audit existing delegation. So here is auditing the delegation, remove unnecessary delegation. Okay, this can be good, but what if I need this delegation? So there should be another way. Remove unnecessary delegation, implement protections for sensitive accounts. So he is telling us to prevent a delegation to be done to sensitive accounts. This can be done by adding this user to protected users group to prevent delegation for this user, or to take tickets on behalf of the user. This can be done. Okay, unnecessary delegation. But what about if I need to have constrained delegation? I think this can be done using just-in-time access or PAM solutions. Anyway, follow this principle, least privilege when configuring delegation. Regular audit delegation configuration protects sensitive accounts by setting the account is sensitive and cannot be delegated. Okay, this can be done, and you can add it to the protected users group. This can be good. Monitor for special delegation related activities. Use resource-based constrained delegation, which is better when possible, instead of traditional constrained delegation. I think we can add with a couple of things. We can implement the PAM solution and other things. I think this was also said here. If we go to the provide in-depth case study, he said to us that we can or we should, let's see here, he's telling us to, let me remember that, to implement, okay, GMSA accounts, use group managed service accounts, to have a strong password for the service accounts, and let me get further. I think he have given us just-in-time access control. Okay, uh, this is one thing. So we can see that the other answers are completing each other. If we go there and see the cleanup, now he's giving us even the cleanup processes to clean this lab. This is very, very good lab, illustrative, simple to explain, simple to implement. So very, very good. Now we have full understand about why uh, we should not use a service account or delegate or make constrained delegation for a service account and enable on-it protocol transition. So this is the first answer. Now I will give you a trick. This is the answer of different AI tools. If you need to enhance uh, the uh, the answer, then there is a simple hack. I saw one of the YouTubers doing this, and actually it gave me a magnificent output. You just have to tell him this. This is level 1 answer. Go to level 2 answer. This what it does. It do it makes the AI tool enhance his answer, okay, as you are telling him that this is only a level 1 answer, so he will seek to level 2, level 3, level 4, and the more you go, the more advanced the answer of the AI tool will be. Let me show you this guy that have give this tip for us. If you go there, let me show you. I have already this. I need to give you the unavailable videos are hidden. I think here I have already. No, this is not the Splunk. I think I have already this is the history. Okay, so just wait for a moment. We can see in the history if we can go to I have already done. Let me show you all. Where is this guy? I have already his channel. If we go to the playlist, let me go to playlist. No, not the playlist. I need to show you guys this guy. He is already here is his channel, just to give him the credit for doing that. If we go, I think I have already, or I have recently added him. Let me remember his name. So I think here, let's go further. I think his name, let me remember. Okay, I think here you go, PowerShell server. Okay, I think we are getting to something here. I think he is at the end. Okay, let's go further. I think he is named by the M. I think let's see the M. Uh, okay, Mr. Automation, not Microsoft Lab. No, I remember there is an icon. His channel have a certain icon. If we go there, let me see it. Not this one. Domain science, no. Danny, no. Okay, just a moment. Okay, here you go. Okay, I think this is Andrew. Yes. Okay, Andrew Lane, design hacker. If we go and see his video, okay, here is the video. No, the simple AI hack makes ChatGPT and Claude 3 times smarter. So you can see this video. This is a very, very good video and helped me a lot. Thanks, Andrew. It's a very, very good thing, or a very, very good hack. Okay, so let's go and see if we ask ChatGPT to enhance his answer, this is level 1 answer, go to level 2. Okay, if we see now, we will see a completely different answer or a more detailed answer. Let's go and see or read this answer and see how making this hack will give us a very, very good answer, more useful and more understandable than the previous one. So let's see the answer again, and you will see it's a very, very good answer. And as we can see here, the first time he didn't give me additional resources, so this hack is very, very good, by the way. So let's read the answer. Okay, he failed to play. Okay, let's try to see if we can make it read the answer again. Actually strange, he read the previous one, so why he can't read this one? Okay, let's try to read it using the Microsoft read out loud feature, or for uh, the browser. I don't remember the name. Actually, this is very, very strange. The name of the browser, it is Microsoft Edge. Okay, strange. Okay, we can go and read it loudly. Now we can go like that, and we can continue. Okay, the conclusion, additional resources, final, and now we can read it. Here you go. Read loud, but I think we can need to go first.
Minimizing potential security risks. Go to level 3 answer. ChatGPT. Understanding constrained delegation with protocol transition in Active Directory, a deep dive. As you advance in your understanding of Active Directory, AD, and its security mechanisms, it's crucial to explore the intricate details of Kerberos authentication, delegation, and potential vulnerabilities. This comprehensive guide delves into principles with constrained delegation using protocol transition enabled for a domain controller DC service, illustrating how this concept operates within AD, providing an in-depth real-world scenario, and highlighting common pitfalls to avoid. 1. Kerberos authentication and delegation in Active Directory. 1.1 Overview of Kerberos authentication. Kerberos is a secure authentication protocol that uses secret key cryptography to authenticate client-server applications. In an AD environment, Kerberos is the default authentication mechanism due to its efficiency and security. Key components. Key Distribution Center, KDC, comprises the Authentication Service, AS, and Ticket Granting Service, TGS. Ticket Granting Ticket, TGT, obtained upon initial authentication, used to request service tickets. Service Ticket, TGS, ticket granted by the TGS to access specific services. 1.2 Delegation in Kerberos. Delegation allows a service to impersonate a user to access resources on another server. There are 3 primary types of delegation in Kerberos within AD. 1.2.1 Unconstrained delegation. Mechanism. The service account can obtain a TGT for any user and impersonate them to any service. Risk. If compromised, the attacker can access any service as any user, including domain administrators. 1.2.2 Constrained delegation. Mechanism. Limits the services to which a service account can delegate. Implementation. Configured using the MSDS allowed to delegate to attribute. Benefit. Reduces risk by restricting delegation to specified services. 1.2.3 Constrained Delegation with Protocol Transition, S4U2 Self, and S4U2 Proxy. Mechanism. Allows a service to obtain a Kerberos service ticket for a user authenticated via a non-Kerberos protocol, e.g., NTLM, BASIC. Components. S4U2 Self. Service for user to self. The service obtains a service ticket to itself on behalf of the user. S4U2 Proxy. Service for user to proxy. The service uses the S4U2 self ticket to request service tickets to other services on behalf of the user. 2. Constrained delegation with protocol transition enabled for DC services. 2.1 Understanding the risk. Enabling constrained delegation with protocol transition for services running on a DC introduces significant security risks. Elevation of privilege. An attacker can impersonate any user to access critical DC services. Domain compromise. Full control over the AD domain can be achieved if DC services are exploited. 2.2 How it works in AD. User authentication. User authenticates to a front-end service using any protocol, e.g., NTLM. S4U2 self-request. The service obtains a service ticket to itself on behalf of the user without the user's credentials. S4U2 proxy request. The service requests service tickets to other specified services on behalf of the user. Access to DC services. If misconfigured, the service can access sensitive DC services, e.g., LDAP, CIFS, as any user. 3. In-depth real-world scenario. 3.1 Scenario Overview. An internal web application, web app, requires users to authenticate via forms-based authentication, non-Kerberos, and needs to access backend services, database and file shares, on behalf of the user. Constrained delegation with protocol transition is implemented to facilitate this. 3.2 Implementation Steps. 3.2.1 Configure the service account. Create a service account. Web app SVC. Set SBNs for the service account. http:/webapp.domain.com and http:/webapp for the web application. 3.2.2 Enable constrained delegation with protocol transition. Enable delegation. Set the trust this user for delegation to specified services only option. Check use any authentication protocol to enable protocol transition. Specify services for delegation. Add SBNs for backend services, e.g., MSSQL svc/deserver.domain.com. 1433 CIFS/fileserver.domain.com. 3.2.3 Application Workflow. User logs in, authenticates via forms-based authentication. Service obtains S4U2 self-ticket. Web app SVC requests a service ticket to itself on behalf of the user. Service obtains S4U2 proxy ticket. Uses the S4U2 self-ticket to request service tickets to backend services. Access backend services. The application accesses resources as the user, ensuring appropriate access control. 3.3 Potential misconfiguration and exploitation. 3.3.1 Misconfiguration. Delegation to DC services. If Web app SVC is configured to delegate to services like LDAP/domain.com, it can access DC services on behalf of any user. 3.3.2 Exploitation Steps. Compromise Web app SVC account. Attacker gains control over the service account. Perform S4U2 self-request. Attacker requests a service ticket for a high-privilege user, e.g., administrator. Perform S4U2 proxy request. Attacker requests a service ticket to LDAP/domain.com using the S4U2 self-ticket. Access DC services. Attacker binds to LDAP as administrator, gaining full domain access. 4. Technical breakdown of the attack. 4.1 Tools and commands. Rubius, a tool for Kerberos interaction and abuse. 4.2 Execution steps. 4.2.1 Obtain service account credentials. Method: credential dumping, phishing, or exploiting vulnerabilities. 4.2.2 S4U2 self-ticket request. Plain text. Copy code. Rubius.exe S4U/user. Webapp SVC/RC for ntl_hash/impersonator. Administrator/self. Explanation. /user. The compromised service account. /RC for. The NTLM hash of the service account password. /impersonator. The user to impersonate, e.g. administrator. /self. Request a service ticket to the service account itself. 4.2.3 S4U2 proxy ticket request. Plain text. Copy code. Rubius.exe S4U/user. Webapp SVC/RC for ntl_hash/impersonator. Administrator/MSDSSBN. LDAP/domain.domain.com/ptt. Explanation. /MSDSSBN. The SBN of the target service, e.g. LDAP/domain.domain.com/ptt. Injects the ticket into the current session. 4.2.4 Accessing DC services. LDAP access. Use LDAP search or PowerShell commandlets to interact with AD as administrator. Actions. Create accounts, modify group memberships, change GPOs. 5. Common pitfalls and how to avoid them. 5.1 Overpermission of delegation rights. Pitfall. Granting delegation rights to sensitive services on DCs. Avoidance. Only delegate to necessary services, avoiding DC services. Regularly audit delegation settings. 5.2 Enabling protocol transition unnecessarily. Pitfall. Enabling protocol transition when users authenticate via Kerberos. Avoidance. Enable protocol transition only if required. Assess authentication methods in use. 5.3 Weak service account security. Pitfall. Using weak passwords or shared accounts. Avoidance. Enforce strong password policies. Use managed service accounts, MSAs, for automatic password management. Limit login capabilities to necessary systems. 5.4 Inadequate monitoring and auditing. Pitfall. Failing to detect abnormal activities. Avoidance. Enable advanced auditing. Monitor Kerberos events, e.g., event IDs 4768, 4769, 4770. Implement security information and event management, SIEM, solutions. 5.5 Misconfigured SBNs. Pitfall. Incorrect SBNs leading to authentication failures. Avoidance. Validate SBNs using SetSpn, Q, and SetSpnL. Ensure SBNs are unique and correctly registered. 6. Best practices and recommendations. 6.1 Principle of least privilege. Implementation. Grant minimal necessary permissions. Limit delegation to specific services required for functionality. 6.2 Regular auditing and monitoring. Actions. Use scripts or tools, e.g., PowerShell, Bloodhound, to audit delegation settings. Schedule periodic reviews. 6.3 Secure service accounts. Recommendations. Use MSAs or group MSAs, GMSAs. Restrict where service accounts can log on. Monitor service account activities. 6.4 Implement resource-based constrained delegation. Advantage. Delegation permissions are controlled by the target service, enhancing security. Configuration. Available from Windows Server 2012 onwards. Use SetAD Computer or SetAD User commandlets to configure. 6.5 Educate IT staff. Importance. Ensure administrators understand delegation risks. Provide training on secure configuration practices. 7. Detection and mitigation strategies. 7.1 Detection. 7.1.1 Auditing delegation settings. PowerShell script example. PowerShell. Copy code. Get AD object, filter, and if is allowed to delegate to, like asterisk, and object class, EQ user, or object class, EQ computer. Properties is allowed to delegate to, user account control for each objective, $_ user account control, band 0x10000000. $_. Name $_ that MSDS allowed to delegate to. Explanation. Identifies accounts with protocol transition enabled 0x10000000 flag. List services they are allowed to delegate to. 7.2 Mitigation. 7.2.1 Remove unnecessary delegation. Action. Review and remove delegation rights to DC services unless absolutely required. 7.2.2 Implement authentication policies and silos. Benefit. Restrict where and how privileged accounts can authenticate. Configuration. Available in Windows Server 2012 and later. Use group policy to enforce. 7.2.3 Strengthen service account security. Measures. Enforce strong passwords and regular rotation. Limit service account privileges. Use MSAs/GMSAs. 7.2.4 Network segmentation. Approach. Limit access to DCs through network firewalls. Implement tiered administrative models. 8. Conclusion. Understanding the nuances of constrained delegation with protocol transition is essential for securing an AD environment. Misconfigurations can lead to severe security breaches, including full domain compromise. By adhering to best practices, regularly auditing configurations, and educating IT staff, organizations can mitigate these risks and maintain a robust security posture. 9. Additional resources. Microsoft documentation. Kerberos Constrained Delegation Overview. How to configure constrained delegation. Security tools. Rubius, GitHub repository. Bloodhound, GitHub repository. Educational articles. Active Directory delegation best practices. Abusing Kerberos delegation. 10. Final recommendations. Stay informed. Keep up to date with the latest security advisories and best practices. Regular training. Invest in ongoing education for IT staff on AD security. Implement defense in depth. Use multiple layers of security controls to protect critical assets. Develop an incident response plan. Be prepared to respond effectively to security incidents involving delegation abuse. By integrating these strategies, you can effectively manage delegation in Active Directory while minimizing potential security risks. Go to Level 3 answer. ChatGPT.
So this is level 2 answer. As you can see here, I think this is a very, very tremendous change from the previous one. As we can see here, very, very good answer and very, very detailed one. Okay, how to do this? The example is more clarified. We give you the commands, give you the hacking process, the defend process. All of this is done by telling him to go to level 2 answer. If you go to level 3, we'll see a completely different answer to this one, more detailed and fantastic answer. If we go to Claude, okay, to give him the same prompt, if I asked him to give me level 2 answer, so here is the secret. You give him, this is level 1 answer, go to level 2. So now we go to the level 2 answer to explain the same concept or the same security indicator. So here he will go further deep. He's giving us the structure of the Kerberos ticket grant service. So this is the request, and then the username, the redeem. So it's more complicated. Okay, and I think here maybe this, I think for protocol transition, maybe I don't remember. I think this is for protocol transition. If we go further, let's see something here. No, this is not for protocol transition. Anyway, so we'll see, give us a more detailed answer, attack service mapping. So giving you the attacking method, and then he is giving us a graph through Mermaid platform, but I think it's not displayed. Then he is talking about advanced detection using something called ETW. Here he didn't give me the the tools that he is using, but I added this to the prompt later. So it's giving you the tools and some defense mechanism, advanced Yara rules for memory analysis. So this is going deep. Okay, he's analyzing the memory for accessing maybe to the password of the service accounts maybe. Anyway, so you see he's going further. Now memory forensics. So he's going deep with the answer. Okay, and the example is going deep further. Okay, advanced PAM implementation. So it's giving you even the PAM configuration. Okay, so if you are using a service account and using a delegation, so you can use PAM instead of or privilege access management with just-in-time access. So actually a good answer. It needs to be tested, by the way. And advanced network segmentation. Remember, this all was said in ChatGPT o1 answer. So a good one, even though I cannot read it because it's very complex. So here is now talking about advanced threat hunting rules, I think, for detecting the hack. Then advanced PowerShell detection script, enterprise architecture recommendation. So here another recommendation: zero trust integration, prevent conditional access policies, deploy micro segmentation. So this is very deep answer, and I think this is for IT professionals. Okay, so if you can go further, we can see even advanced attack scenarios. Scenario 2, we have a lot of things. As we can see here, this is very advanced. Even I can't comprehend it because I don't have this knowledge. But anyway, we can see that all of this is triggered because of this line. If we go again to ask it to give us, this is hands-on exercise. Remember, this was the first exercise concerning the protocol transition. If I tell him again to give me level 2 answer, here I can see another exercise which will be completely different. If we go there and ask it to give us the second exercise, here we can go advanced protocol transition. So this is the second exercise. Now we will see it's going deep. Now we have DC1, we have two servers, we have a client, we have an attacker, we have Wireshark for analyzing the data transmitted. We have network protocol analyzer. Okay, I don't know which, maybe this is program, Visual Studio for custom tools deployment. So now we can see here that, first of all, he is downloading all of these programs using Shoko or Chocolatey, which is a very famous program to install and download programs automatically. So we can see here that this is going deep dive into protocol analyze or self how to take a ticket. Here analyzing the actual Kerberos protocol transition and ticket structure. So he's talking about taking a ticket, okay, or authentication, then normal authentication or without the Kerberos, and then take a ticket from the Kerberos. Analyze the actual Kerberos transition from, for example, maybe from Kerberos to NTLM. So capture and analyze this process, okay. Here you can see we are using, I think here we are using Wireshark, I think, or no, I think we are working from the PowerShell maybe. Net S trace start capture. I think this is maybe through Wireshark or through maybe PowerShell. Now we have enable Kerberos logging through the registry. So this is very advanced techniques. If we go further, we will see that generate. I don't know what it is actually. This one, but it is net trace stop. I think all of this is done using, but not this one. I think maybe all of this done using the PowerShell. So after that, extract and decode Kerberos tickets. So here is taking the data traffic and extract and decode Kerberos tickets from the data captured. So now we have, here is the ticket, and now he is going further to extract the service account password from the Kerberos ticket. Okay, so this is very, very advanced techniques. Okay, advanced protocol transition chain analysis. Understand the complete chain of protocol transition and delegation. Okay, here is saying set up a multi-tier service chain. So we have on DC1 create services. This is web service, API service, and DP or database service. He's creating 3 service accounts, I think, for each one of these. And I think he is configuring the delegation for the web to access these two. Okay, the API and one for the database. Okay, I think he is delegating it to one for the web and on the API. So he's delegating the front to access the API and then the API to access the database. Okay, and all of this is done. But where is the protocol transition here? Yes, trust to authenticate for delegation. So this is to have protocol transition. Okay, and I think there is another step to have constrained delegation. I think yes, he will do constrained delegation. Okay, in the next step. Okay, this is for the web service. I think he will delegate to the API. Okay, and then let's see here the answer. He is delegating to which one? He is delegating to services in the previous one. So he's all of these are I think cumulative. Okay, so you can see here, yes, they are cumulative. So we can see here a very, very in-depth exercise. Then after set up all of the service accounts and the delegation and the protocol transition, now he is doing the attack. Understand complex attack chain involving protocol transition. So first of all, I think he has the password of the service account that was captured from the Kerberos ticket. Yes, I think that is the situation. Let's see after that. Now develop custom request tool. So he's I think he will request the service ticket and through a developed custom tool. This is a very, very deep one. Okay, analyze service account permissions and potential privilege escalation path. So here we can see another custom PowerShell script, advanced detection and monitoring, custom ETU. I don't know actually what are these tools. Implement real-time monitoring, exercise advanced forensics and response. You are checking the memory. I think for the Kerberos ticket to get the password maybe. Password of the service account, timeline analysis tool, custom tool development, develop tools for advanced protocol transition, analysis decoders. So he create a Kerberos ticket decoder. I think through using maybe some C# tool. I think he's talking about. So this is very, very advanced one. Okay, developed the delegation chain analyzer. So as we can see here, this is going very deep. Okay, so this exercise is very, very deep. Now we can see we have a very, very good answer. You can do exercise for beginners, okay, and do exercise for intermediate and for advanced. We can see all of these answers are very, very deep. If we again go to the last one, I will show you what when I go further and ask it to go to level 3. So this is the answer. If you go to level 3 answer, then we are completely dealing with another thing here. If we go there, we will see that it's going very, very deep. Okay, so we can see here we have table of contents. So he's doing a more complicated answer, as we can see here. We can see here, for example, table of contents, introduction. We have the Kerberos, okay, overview, service principal. So we have here overview of what is the service principal name, Kerberos, delegation and active directory, unconstrained, constrained, a protocol transition. Then we have constrained delegation with protocol transition, real world scenario, okay, the overview and implementation steps, technical breakdown, potential vulnerabilities and exploits, attack vector, security implications, advanced meditation strategies, okay, common pitfalls, best practice, conclusion, additional resources. Even though this seems to be the same index for the previous one, but it contains a lot of changes. If we go further, we will see it will begin adding additional information. Okay, so we can see that it has add authentication service. This was not stated before. Then we can see the flow. So here is explaining the authentication flow, which was also not said in the previous one. Okay, or I think it's not added or it's not discussed in this flow or in this order. Let me go further and see if we go to the previous one, just to make sure that the answer is not repeated. If we go further, let's go first. Here we go. This is for, okay, so this is the delegation. Here is the components. He is not giving us the authentication process, only the components, and he is not giving us the flow of the components, okay, or the flow of the authentication. So this is a change. Now he is going deep and giving us more info. If we go further, let me show you here the differences. Now we can see that we have different, he's now giving us more components, and then he giving us the authentication flow, how the authentication is done. Okay, client server authentication, then we have the service principal name. Okay, what is the service principal name, and some examples and the importance of it. Then the delegation, again he will talk about delegation, but giving us more info about the delegation, unconstrained delegation, constrained delegation, protocol transition. Again, he's talking about protocol transition. I think he is adding more info or repeated answers. Then the mechanism. I think he's talking again the same things, but he is adding more depth to the answer. If we now going further, let's see here the real world scenario. It will be different. We see you have a web application, enterprise web applications. Then we can see allows employee to access internal resources. Employee, let's go further. Employee authenticate user form based authentication. On purpose, this application needs to access a backend database and the file server on behalf of the user. Okay, so okay, these are the steps. Okay, user, okay, registration, use a complex password, enable constrained delegation, and the steps if you're going further and further and further. Logs in, okay, the technical, KDC, forward. Okay, I think here it's going further deep. Okay, I think here is the answer is, now you get the point. Actually, if you ask or give the AI tool the prompt of this is level 1 answer, give me level 2 answer, he will give you more. If you go tell him level 3, he will give you a more complex answer. Give you level 4, it will go more and more deep. Okay, if we go to Claude and see, just a moment guys. So let's continue guys. Here we can see as far as we go, as far the answer will be very complex. So for example, if I tell him to go to level 3 answer concerning the exercise, okay, here let's go, this is level 3 answer. If we go further, let me see, here you go, this is the level 3 exercise. If you go there, here you go, now he's making it more complex. We have 2 domain controllers, we have server 4, I think we have server service, enterprise, so we have a client, we have a web attack or a client or attack lab machine, network tab, monitor port configuration, kernel debugging environment, custom protocol analysis. Now we can see here that we have a lot of things. Okay, we have a lot of programs to be installed. Okay, a very, very complex one. So we can kernel level authentication analysis, analyze the kernel level implementation of so and so. So he's going deep in the operating system kernel. I think he's going to deep level in the operating system. Okay, so now we can go now set up kernel debugging environment. So here I think he's going very, very deep actually, and I can't understand most of the steps, But as we can see here, the answer is getting deeper. The exercise is getting more exciting. You can see a lot of answers, as you can see here. So you can see a lot of things done. So I think here we have seen a lot of answers concerning this this transition. Okay, so we can see here, this is the one, or the security indicator. So I will not go deep. I just go to the other one. Just I think we can stop here, or we can continue in the upcoming video. Okay, I think I will only give or get one answer, and you can, guys, talk with the AI tools and get the answer you need. Here we see users with SPN defined. Here he's talking about if you have a service account, you should register it as a service account by giving it a unique number, so the corpus will know that this account is a service account. So this is users with SPN. He is talking about normal users that you mistakenly register them as a service account. Okay, so this is here the concept, or he is seeking for normal users that are registered as a service account by mistake. So if we see the answer of ChatGPT, actually I will not go further, but here I will show you all the answer again concerning this one. If you go there, here we see that he's talking about the principal names. Okay, anyway, I think this is far more to comprehend. We will stop at this test. Okay, users with SPN defined. We will stop there, and we will continue the upcoming video. Hope this video is informative to you all, and thank you all for viewing. Thank you so much.